Life After the Fight is a show that speaks to everyday issues pertaining to our mind, body, and soul. We will address topics ranging from mental health, self care, fatherhood, family, relationships, and more. Our goal is to encourage listeners to keep fighting through the obstacles, challenges, and struggles. The focal point is simple: seek a fresh perspective, become teachable, and improve your overall health and wellness. If you're craving more growth and development, this podcast is for you.
All right, Ricky, I'm glad we're back.
Yes.
It's my favorite place to be, talking to the audience, talking to you,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully not educating the audience, but giving them a different perspective
Yes.
or something to at least think about. Um, what's been going on with you? Anything?
Not a whole lot, man. I mean, I just been just preparing to end this year off on a good note. With my business, doing some working with clients, helping
How's that
them.
going?
It's going pretty well, man. I'm helping
Good,
a lot
good,
of
good,
a lot. I've been working with a lot of couples lately,
Really?
which is really encouraging, man, to say the least. Because for the audience sake, what I do is I do meal preps,
Okay.
and,
Okay.
and and I do meal preps for Phytos for people who are looking to either lose weight, get off their medication, lower their dosage of medication, and just having an overall healthy way of living and eating. So I've been working, and that's one of the things that I do in addition to fitness classes and personal training. But what I've learned about these couples, man, is that it has allowed their bond to strengthen
Okay.
based on them both seeing results together.
That's a
And
good
that's
thing.
something that I'm like encouraged by because I'm like, how many couples really support each other with health? Like
Right.
sometimes you'll see it where there's one spouse member who may not have a weight issue, but the other one does. Or you may see both that have weight issues, and then you have some that don't have weight issues. But
You're making me the visual picture I'm getting in my head is that a couple that's a perfect 10. He's slim or she's slim, and their partner's round.
but I've seen it. I've seen it all. I've worked with so many different people, man. I've seen it. I've literally seen it, man. But this particular couple that I'm speaking of, they're both pretty fit,
Okay, good,
but their issue has been not having enough time in the day to eat right. So they're doing everything else, just not having enough time to eat right. So therefore, they're only eating maybe 2 meals a day, and the rest is just water and then snacks in between, and then chips and all the unhealthy snacks. So as a
Gotcha.
result, they are struggling with high blood pressure,
Oh wow.
and then not sleeping enough. So once I came along and kind of explained to them how we can get their numbers in order, how they can get better sleep, and how they can get on track, was to give them a realistic approach
Right.
to solving that problem. And so within a month, they're sleeping better than they've ever slept. um, they're getting stronger, having more energy during the day. And the meals that I'm preparing for them, they're actually breaking the meals up, and I'm teaching them how to do portion control. So they're
Okay.
eating small meals at different times of the day, which speeds up the metabolism. Therefore, it allows their body to relieve all that, excess water weight retention. And it's just a beautiful thing to see them after now 2 months, how they crave the food that I prepare because it's helping them,
Good.
and they're letting me know, progressively. So that's something that that's encouraging to me, but also too, it's just nice to see couples who've been married for 16, they've been married for 16 years. It's good to see them support each other and have each other's back and keep each other accountable.
That's nice. That's good. It's funny because people, particularly in our time of living, support has become, again, everything seems to have the undertones of financials or finances behind it or underneath it or whatever, or supporting it. That it's good to see couples come together, you know, to be healthy together, maybe do activities together and things of that nature, not
Yes.
just both just working.
Yes.
As
Yes.
I was saying to someone the other day, um, my definition of work is exchanging time for money to pay for previously incurred debt.
Yes, that's all it
That's
is.
work, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, that's
But
it.
I really want to get into tonight to this topic. And
Mhm.
this topic that I'm going to approach tonight, I think, is very, very, very extremely apropos for all people. We usually relegate this just to children. And when I say the topic, you're going to understand it. What role does curiosity and imagination play in your life? And the reason I chose that is because when we're kids and we're in grade school, preschool, not grade school. I'm sorry, a little bit of grade school, but mostly preschool, kindergarten, and maybe first to third grade. We even read books called Curious George about a monkey.
Curious George. Yeah.
And somehow we get to the grades of about 5, 6, 7. They say, stop being a daydreamer, stop
Mm.
imagining things, get in line and do what everyone else is
Else is
doing.
doing.
You're becoming an adult now.
Hmm.
Put
Yes.
away those childish things.
Yes.
And from the observation that I've taken over the last couple of years, I realized that that's one of the key factors that a lot of people are missing when it comes to their happiness and joy in life is that they no longer have a curiosity for anything that they don't know. And the imagination, if there ever was one, has been long since killed. And again, from my perspective, I think that it's very important to keep curiosity and having a healthy imagination for the rest of your life. My brother called me one day a few years back, and he said to me, did I disturb you? I said, you did. I said, but it's okay because I can get back to it. And he goes, well, what were you doing? I said, I was 12 years old and I was at the banks of some lake that he knew about. I said, and I was fishing. He goes, whoa, what are you talking about? You were, I said, I closed my eyes and right now I don't have time or money to get away from my job. So I decided I wanted to go back to the 12-year-old boy that I knew, and I wanted to go fishing at a particular lake. And I just closed my eyes and sat back in a chair, and I imagined myself there for the last half hour. And he said, were you having a good time? I said, oh, the best. And I started giving him the description of where I was, what I was doing, what I was wearing. He goes, wow, that's pretty vivid. You painted a really good picture. I said, because in my mind's eye, I realized that using my imagination, I could go, do, and be anything that I could imagine. I said, and the reality of that is, if I imagine long and hard enough, I can bring my imagination into my reality.
Mhm.
And he went, wow. He goes, I wonder would that be something that would be a benefit to a lot of adults who think they don't have time to do a lot of things? I said, I believe it definitely would be because having an imagination doesn't cost you any dollars or cents.
Yeah.
And being curious only allows you to learn things you don't currently know. So I'll ask you, Ricky,
Mhm.
do you have any particular practices of curiosity or imagination in your own world?
Yes, I do every day. Let me just before answer that, I just want to add on to what you said about what's healthy. I think that society continues to deaden the possibility of a child even being whatever they desire to be or dream to be because society wants to conform and to control so they can dominate. And so I think that a lot of kids, once they're discouraged because their mind is so impressionable, once they're discouraged, then they feel like, oh, heck, nobody's going to listen. I'll never be. And if they don't have any encouragement from their parents and they don't have any encouragement from their teachers and don't have any encouragement from any other adults, then where are they going to get encouragement from? They can't encourage themselves. So the dreaming part. Now, I will say this as a child, I dreamed a lot because I lived a sheltered life. Okay.
Okay.
My parents, no, not my parents, my father was very strict. And so, although he allowed us to do certain things and, we did enjoy ourselves, it's just that I wasn't able to do a whole lot of things my peers did.
Okay.
Okay. So, because I couldn't go and do certain things, I dreamt about it. I would imagine, I would sit back and I would just imagine me doing what my peers are doing. I would go to the backyard sometimes. We had a huge backyard, avocado lemon tree. I would get, sometimes a blanket or even just lay on the grass. We got the Augustine grass, the nice, healthy, bougie grass. So I would just kind of lay back with my head back, hands behind my head, and I would just basically dream and just imagine. And I would look into the sky and I would see the clouds and I would see the blue array of the sky and I would see the planes going by or I see the white chemtrails, if you would. And I would just imagine and I would say, I can actually do this. I can actually be this. And I would literally dream it. Now, as an adult, man, I do the same thing. And the only difference now versus then is that I sometimes dream like you. I will go back and dream about what I used to do. I would dream about where I used to go. And then I would dream about what I didn't get a chance to do. And then I said to myself, I'm not too old I'm not too old to get going in life in certain things that I didn't get a chance to do early on. So sometimes I dream today on, you know what, I've never done this and I've never done that. Let me dream about it and to see if I'm still interested in making this a reality. Because this is what I always say to people. I always say to people, you can never, ever, ever say what you would not do, and you can never say what you shouldn't do. You can always say things like, you know what, I've never done that before, but that's something that I want to do. That's
Right.
something that I want to achieve and I want to accomplish. And I do want to tell the audience this: dreaming is very healthy because all it does is stimulate your way of thinking and it stimulates your brain to be able to think abroad and to be able to think differently instead of being coursed into one little box and being able to just feed off of what people said you can't do, you shouldn't do, or what you wouldn't do. And so for me, dreaming is healthy. And I think that if we can just bring that back to our kids, if we can bring that back to just people we know and let them know dreaming is healthy, and this is the reason why. Because it gets you going into believing whatever you believe in and whatever you want to achieve, you have a choice and you have, a chance. But the question is, who is going to get that accomplished more than you are? Only you can do that. You have so many negative people, they're going to tell you, no, that would never happen. You'll never do you have no resources. There's so many discouragement in the world. So, like I said, dreaming is a beautiful thing.
One of the things that I think is really interesting is that a lot of times curiosity and imagination are not things that people are exposed to.
No.
Case in point, uh, prior to us even coming on and doing this show, I was having this conversation with our producer and saying, a lot of times the reason that people don't grow is because they perpetuate that cycle of life that they saw.
Mm,
So they saw their mother and their father do things that didn't necessarily make their mother and father happy. And the reason their mother and father did that is because they saw their parents do the same thing.
yeah.
And then now you, as being part of the third generation of that, you're perpetuating the exact same thing. And without taking the time to think and ask yourself, is what I'm doing actually even making me happy?
Yes.
Am I getting any benefit from what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And that's where the curiosity has to come into play if you want a different result. Now, if you want the same result and you think the results that your parents had or your parents' parents had works for you, then fine. Far be it from me or anyone else to tell you differently. But if it's not working for you, then you need to be curious enough to utilize your imagination, or at least look
Yes.
in the direction of what other people are doing that maybe you don't know,
You don't
maybe
know.
don't look like you, maybe don't come from where you come from,
Yes.
but are doing something that maybe you have the slightest curiosity or inkling to say, maybe I can try that.
Yes.
I remember years ago, and for the audience, I'm sure you can hear from my voice that I am a man of color. But it was interesting because I met a woman out here many years ago before I was married, and I invited her over for dinner. And I made her, and I'll even say what I made. I made asparagus,
Mhm.
I made salmon, I made couscous. And this woman said, "Hold on for a second." She said, "You have a phone that I can use because now I'm giving it away. This was pre anyone having cell phone because it was so expensive."
Yes.
So she had to use my apartment
Yes.
phone, and she called her mother, and she said, "Mom, this guy got me eating white people food." And I had to laugh because I said, "What?" It's because she was too used to eating fried everything
Fried everything.
that because I made some couscous, asparagus, and salmon, this was not, this, for lack of better words, I might as well have been giving her food from Mars because
Wow.
this was something that she was not familiar with.
Wasn't familiar with
But
it.
I said, hey, try something new. Be curious about what you consider white people's food is. Be curious, taste it. And she says, oh, wow, this is really good. I like this, blah, blah, blah. I said, great. Now you can go and tell everybody else that look like me, you, that, hey, it ain't just white people's food. This is everybody's food. Whatever's consumable that you can digest is good food.
What was your
okay?
initial thought when she said that? When she called her mom?
My initial thought was that, and when my initial thought was I that dumb to to pick up on a woman that clueless to the realities of life when it came to food? I was like,
Wow.
but then I thought, you know what? She had limited exposure
Yes.
to cuisine, so I wasn't going to judge.
Yeah.
But I thought about that particular instance, and
Mhm.
I magnified it by saying I had met people who had never left Inglewood,
Yep.
and Inglewood was all they knew.
All they knew.
And so when I would talk to them about, my travels to Paris, my travels to Monaco, my travels to Rome, Italy, again, I might as well have been talking about going to Jupiter because they hadn't even left the state of California.
Yes.
And now I'm going into other countries, much less other states within this United States of America.
Mhm.
So I realized that it was just limited exposure. And that's the beauty of being curious is when you're curious about life,
Yeah.
it puts you in a position to want to know things other than the familiar.
Yes.
You want to know different people, different foods, different modes of transportation, different ways of thinking. And when you parse or put those two things together, having curiosity for other things and then utilizing your imagination, it is my belief that you set yourself up for a very happy, joyful, blissful, productive life because now you can look at everything and then make a selection based on everything that's been put out in front of you. Now, if you're in a position where you only know about a corn dog, French fries, and coleslaw, then that's what you're gonna eat every single day.
That's it. That's it.
But if you're curious enough to expose yourself to the limitless offerings that are available to you, then you're going to choose a whole bunch of different things.
Mhm.
And you're not going to say, hey, this is relegated to
Yeah.
one set group of people, but my people don't do that. So I'm not, I'll even go even further. I was limited in my thinking until I moved to California and realized, hey, I can hike too. And you see, isn't that funny? And the reason
can
I'm
hike
saying
too,
that's
yeah.
funny
Yeah.
is because I ran into other brothers who were like, what you mean you going hiking? Like,
Yeah, they don't understand
that's
that.
not something we
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Hey, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do everything that God created on
Man.
this earth to do. So don't limit yourself. Have curiosity about other things because you never know what you may find that you're going to like.
Let me tell you what I enjoy watching, and I'm sure the audience, some of the audience can relate to it. I enjoy watching Discovery Channel, right?
Okay.
Because for me, seeing things for the first time, I get so much pleasure out of it. Like whether it's in a different country or a different type of food in a different culture, or just how different people in different countries, how they hunt for their food, how they prepare their food. And so when I look at that, I'm like saying to myself, wow, like these people have these techniques, right? They have these techniques and they have this way of not only catching their food, but preparing it.
Right.
And then they are talking in their dialect to each other, and you can see the laughing and the smiling. And then once they get it prepared, now mind you, you do have the voiceover person who's explaining,
Right,
in
right,
English
right.
what's going on.
The
And so
narrator.
yeah, the narrator. So I'm listening to the narration, right? And I'm like saying, wow. And so after these people finish with after they finish up with their whole entire preparation of their food, and now they're sitting there. They're sitting there and they're enjoying this food, laughing and smiling and giggling. And I'm saying to myself, they're on dirt, they're on rocks, they're under a tree. They don't have a table like us. They don't have a chair like us. They don't have utensils. They're using their hands. But that food looks so good because you can see the expressions. Now, I said that because I'm letting people know that when you discover things for the first time and you've never had an experience, you are going to be able to have some type of expression, whether it's a good one, a not so pleasant one, but it's going to be an expression. And when you get that expression for the first time or experience for the first time, it's going to do something to you. And so I know for you, when you did hiking for the first time, I know it did something to you because you only saw it probably on TV and heard about it. But like for me, when I went back east, for the first time, I didn't know what snow looked like outside of the mountains here in California. I've been born and raised all my life. If I wanted to see snow, I went to the mountains. My parents took me to the mountains to be in the snow. But I remember when I went to DC for the first time, I'll never forget it. I went to Howard University to visit my friend for homecoming. And it just so happened that it had already snowed before I got there. So when we got to his house, which is right across the street from the campus, he had to shovel snow in his driveway for us to even walk through the door. And then he had to shovel from. So I'm like, I was like, what the heck? And then the next day, we woke up. It was snowing. We couldn't get outside because there was so much snow. So we had to go through the back. And so we were able to walk down the street in the snow because there was no driving. Cars couldn't drive.
Right, right.
So we walked at least a mile to the store.
Right.
But it was so fun
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
because I'm walking in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And it's snowing. And there's no cars because nobody can drive.
And something you hadn't
Something I've
experienced.
never experienced before. And I
Right.
was so excited to get home and tell that story.
Right.
So this is good information because once you get that experience for the first time, it opens you up to want to gain more experiences.
And then that's the purpose for having curiosity and
Man.
imagination. And I think it's so sad that in our school systems, they literally they set you up. I'm not going to say set you up for failure, but they tell you to have creativity, imagination, be curious, and then once you get older, they want to just strip that all away from you and
Take it
say,
away.
get in line and be a cog like the rest of the people who are adults, just like your parents.
No.
Forget about being imaginative. Don't
Yeah.
worry about that. That's for other people. That's for creatives and this and that. And you go, but wait a minute. I can be a creative.
Yeah,
I can be a
definitely.
genius. I can be all those things.
Yes.
But in my opinion, we allow others to take that very important thing away from us.
Mhm.
And I feel that, particularly as a parent, those are the things that I most should share with my
Yes.
kids.
Yes.
One of the things that I heard someone say the other day that they've taken out of schools, shop and home economics. But those are the things that teach you how to function in life, teach you how to write a check. I remember a guy, and I won't go and say his name because there may be people who are listening who know, but he said that his buddy asked him to hire one of his friend's kids out of college. Well, he hired this guy and he said, I'm gonna start him off with something very simple and say, look, I just need you to address these envelopes going to these people. And the kid
Wow.
looked at him and said, okay.
What is this?
And he put the address on the envelope. He put the name, address, zip code, state, and everything
All on one line.
He didn't know
He didn't know how to do it. He wasn't taught.
So then the guy said, do you know how to write a check? He didn't know.
Yeah.
He didn't even know how to
Yes.
do a proper work application, which
Yes.
means he couldn't do an application to get an apartment, couldn't do an application to get a car loan. And he just thought, wow, what are these kids actually learning in college?
It's some. Listen, George. Let me tell you something. George, let me say. I have to say this. There are kids now that don't even know what a stamp is to put on a letter. They don't know what a stamp is. They don't know what a letter represents as far as how to address it. Like you said, they don't know how to write checks, they don't know how to balance no checkbook, and they don't really know how to write anything out because everything is online. Everything's on the computer.
And on a computer. Thank God, my wife and I, we taught our son this, so he knows. But we kind of make this joke because I don't know if you know this, Ricky, and I'm sure you do, but they don't teach cursive writing in school.
No, they don't. No, I know that.
And so
My boys told me that.
So my son, my as parents, my wife and I looked at our son one day and laughed and said, so if we hadn't taught you cursive writing, that could be your dad's and our secret language or coded information that we could pass along to each other that you would never even know. Because no
My
one
God.
these kids
Oh my
don't know
gosh.
cursive writing.
That's hilarious, man.
And so, but then we took it a step further. We said, you know, could this be a grand scheme of how to keep people from even voting?
Voting.
Because here's the thing. I don't know if you've noticed it or look, but even if you do, if you do a write-in ballot and you're gonna mail it in, it says signature. And if the kid only knows print, they can throw those ballots out legally because a signature is in cursive.
Like I said, man, let me tell you, George, they have taken so many things out of the school, and that's why so many kids are illiterate to just basic skills after high school and even after college. But as we're coming to an end, I just want us to have some closing thoughts. We're coming to an end. I just want to just go back to the imagination thing. The best thing I have learned as an adult about imagining things is
Mhm.
that nothing is too big to imagine.
Nothing.
And the reason why it's not too big to imagine is because if I have the ability to imagine it and I can actually see it and I can actually fulfill it in my mind, then what is stopping me to fulfill it with my hands?
It goes back to see it, believe it, achieve it.
Achieve it. That's it. I ain't got nothing else to say. That was matter of fact, say that one more time for the audience.
See it, believe it, achieve
Achieve it. I think we get on that note. I mean, imagination is that's it, you know. But once again, we want to thank you all for tuning in. Life after the fight. Um, stay healthy, stay safe, continue dreaming because it's healthy.
And I'll say, if you do nothing else, keep being curious
There you go.
about your life, about the things around you, the people you care for.
Yeah.
And remember this, because someone asked me this the other day, what is friendship to me? Friendship to me is having people around you who love and support you, period.
That's it.
Doesn't have to be anything they want to do, can comprehend, or are capable of understanding, but they love and support you because it's what you want to do.
That's it. All right. Well, life
That's
after the
it.
fight.
Life
That's it,
after
man.
the fight.
All right. Until
All
next
right,
time, man.
Until next time, audience. We
All right.
love you guys.
Love you.
Take care.
Take care.